Westplex Symphony 107.1. We play the best symphony music.
It's like beautiful music, only better.
It is BS in the morning. 6:10. Boy, was it beautiful yesterday.
It was really lovely.
Almost made you forget how screwed things up are. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just one of those things.
Exactly.
It was like
exactly what it did.
God, what a nice day. You're driving around. I know people are going, well, what are you doing driving around? What are you doing driving around? Hey, you know what? We're essential. And you're not. Is that terrible to be? Shelley and I, we're kidding about the fact that, there was a story behind the CISA letter, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
CISA is, and I keep getting this confused. Let me see what this is. CISA is a government agency that I didn't even know exists. CISA, and it stands for what is it? Cyber Infrastructure Safety Administration, I believe is what it stands for. And it's a division of Cyber Infrastructure Safety Administration, and it's a division of Homeland Security. So this essentially is an agency that was created after 9/11. It falls under Homeland Security, which was one of the agencies that was brought about by the attack on us by the terrorists who hijacked the planes. And essentially what CISA does, CISA is responsible for critical infrastructure and the workforce. So in other words, your cellular phones, the guys who climb the towers, the guys who work in the offices where all the computers are that run the cellular system, that run the landline system, that run the cable system, that run, pretty much anything that you rely upon as far as communication infrastructure. And I'll be honest, I heard this on, when this first started 2 weeks ago, I heard this on 97.1. Dave Glover comes on the air one day and says, wow, things are getting really weird. I got a letter from CISA. And he talked about the same thing. He didn't even know who it was. And essentially, it was declaring him as an essential person. And the point of it being is that you're supposed to carry this letter with you, that if, for example, if they do lock things down and we go under martial law, that me specifically, because I'm the guy that also engineers the radio station, if one of our transmitters has a problem, I have to be able to get in my truck and drive to the transmitter site and not have the police pull me over and throw me in jail. And not only that, we have to get back and forth to work to be able to go on the air. And once again, someone said to me just yesterday, a snide remark that I got on, I won't say the social media site. It was a direct message to me like, why do you consider yourself to be essential? We don't really need you on the radio. Okay, maybe you don't, but
somebody really sent that to you?
Oh yeah, it's like, come on,
Wait, how did you reply to that? How did you reply to something like that?
I didn't. I just let it go.
Good. Did you know this person?
No, and once again, it's one of these things where, okay, in the big picture, are we like the police department, or the fire department, or the paramedics, or the nurses, or the doctors at the hospital? No. But to a certain extent, what we provide is information. We talk about things. I know we do goofy stuff and say goofy stuff, but we do have a serious component. We had Mike Elam on. We'll have people on this morning. Matter of fact, we have Jan Stanzik this morning from Jan's Travel
and Cruise.
Tell us about what's going on with the cruises. And, and obviously that's not a good situation right now. And she'll give us I don't know if she'll give us the situation of the people who are actually cruising, but sort of an update on if you scheduled a cruise, what the status is, all that kind of stuff. So, and the point being is that we are licensed by the federal government. We have 3 radio stations. And one of the things that still goes back to the Communications Act of 1934, which is still part of, almost 85 years later, we're still governed to a certain point by that. And one of the things that the Communications Act of 1934 stresses is that radio stations, at that point in time, there were only radio stations, operate in the public convenience, public interest, convenience, and necessity. Okay, and the idea being the necessity part of it is it's times like this that we have the EAS system, the emergency alert system. And if you listen to this station, if you listen to our other station, KSOQ, if there's a storm that comes through, tornado warning, our station goes off. Now, I've had other people say to me, well, what do we need radio for anymore? I have my cell phone and I get those alerts on my cell phone. Okay, great, wonderful. But A, your cell phone may not be on all the time. B, when you're driving along, and we've got the system set up so that like it goes quick. And we're on automatic to the point where if there's a tornado warning or some kind of a thing issued by the National Weather Service, the Weather Wizards of Weldon Spring, it's singular, it goes on the air literally seconds after it is, issued. And a lot of times I've had this on my cell phone where I've been listening to our very own radio station, and the alert has been a couple minutes before it went off on my cell phone. If you're in a situation with a tornado, couple minutes, life and death. You know what I mean? And I'm not
Absolutely.
trying to exaggerate that, but sometimes the warnings come because these tornadoes pop out of nowhere sometimes, and in a couple minutes. I mean, that's the difference between you getting down in the basement or something like that and you not getting down in the basement and the tornado, doing severe damage to your home and hopefully not to you. But anyway, the idea being is that we are licensed by the FCC and we have to provide these services. We can't just flip the switch and say, well, you know what? Listen to Camo X. They got all those news people. We have to be here. So we have our CISA letters. And what was interesting was I sent, the day this happened, I call Washington, D.C., the organization CISA, and talk to a guy there, and he says, I'm sorry, but we don't issue those letters for state. If you were a federal employee, we would issue one of those letters, but you aren't really a federal employee. You are a broadcaster, and you need to contact your local government to get a press pass or some kind of a letter like that, which I did. And I talked to two levels of local government, and both very nice to me, but they essentially said, we have no idea what you're talking about. And the one just yesterday, she responded back a couple times, and I actually sent her a copy of the email that I got from CISA saying, we don't issue these letters. That has to be issued by a state or county or local government official. And I sent that letter or that email to a county person, and the response was, I have no idea what they're talking about. So, there are no press passes. So, long story made short, I won't tell you how I got it, but Shelley and I now have our CISA letters, which is sort of funny because I got the CISA letter on the day that I got the email from CISA saying they don't issue CISA letters, and there is no such thing as a letter to communications workers for critical infrastructure. And what does your letter say? That we're and it's on the letterhead from CISA, and essentially says we are essential workers.
Is providing emergency communication sustainment and restoration support to critical communications infrastructure facilities in response to COVID-19 declaration of national emergency.
Right. Now, before you get mad at both of us and say, well, hold on a minute, this is a time of emergency, and agencies are getting hammered, and I get it, and I don't want to be part of the problem. But I think it's funny that in times of non-emergency, this kind of stuff happens all the time. I told Shelley the story about a particular county government situation I had where I went to one office and the lady said, oh, that's not me, that's so-and-so. And I go to her office and she says, oh, no, that's not me. And she gave me the name of the lady I just talked to. And I said, well, I just talked to her. She said that you're the person. And she says, no, that's not me, it's her. So I go back to her and I say, okay, I just went and talked to her. And she says, it's not her, it's you. And she says, no, it's not me, it's her. And at one point I said to both ladies, I said, can you both come out in the hall? Because their offices were like right down the hall from each other. I said, can you both come out in the hall, and can I stand in the middle of you, and can you just both tell me at the same time that I should talk to her, and you can just point back and forth? No, I'm not doing that. It was like, and once again, customer service, okay? I mean, I will never forget that, years ago, like you and I talked about this, we have a client on the air here, Gus Beffa, Chris Offenberg, Ford Lincoln in Washington.
Yes.
And Gus has, and he runs the place, and he has what he calls the 10-foot rule. And the 10-foot rule, and isn't funny now we have the 6-foot rule, but this is the 10-foot rule. And the 10-foot rule is that any employee that comes within a customer, within 10 feet of a customer, no matter what level the employee is, if it's like a mechanic who's walking through the showroom to talk to a customer, another customer, or let's say he's just walking outside, he just parked a car he worked on, and he walks by a customer who's looking at cars in the lot, he's to address that customer and say, ma'am, sir, I'm not a salesperson, but I work in the repair shop. But is there someone I can get you to help? Somebody I can get to help you? Is there a salesperson? Or did you have a question about that car? Or did you have a technical question? I'd be more than happy to answer a technical question. And the idea being is that point of contact, that everybody becomes sort of the ambassador for that particular business. And the idea being is that you may not be able to help them. And they may say, I was looking for a used, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Let me walk you over into the, the sales office. And we've got, Leonce, who is the excellent salesperson here, or Barry, or whoever the salesperson is. And they'll be more than happy to help you. And do it that way. But yet, when you deal with the government, sometimes it's like, not my job. Talk to them,
That happens also in civil service. Well, it happens in civil service. It also happens in private industry as well.
Well, I get it.
So don't just blame it all on the feds.
No, but what? No, and I'm not saying the feds. I'm saying government in general, because of the fact that I don't think that a lot of government workers, especially that deal with the public, realize that they're in customer service. They got a job. This is their job, and they do it, and that's all they do. And I agree with you. There are people who work in the government who are excellent at that, and I've dealt with those kind of people. But it seems as though sometimes, maybe it's just me, when you deal with the people, they're like, I don't know, not my job, that kind of a thing.
I do know exactly what you're talking about. And it's not even just in person. It's also, everything is virtual now, and people are calling now. And, I've been trying to work with a company that's cool, and I actually regret that.
Well, you cut out. You were trying to work with a company that
was not local, and I regret that. I'm paying the price for that.
Why are you paying the price?
Because they haven't got my order right.
Oh.
And it's been 2 weeks.
Well, one of those things, and are we perfect? No, Shelley and I screw stuff up, but we try to own up to it.
The time.
Yeah, we try to own up to it and say, you know what, we blew that. We made a mistake on that.
We'll take our comeuppance. That's kind of how we roll.
Yeah. Every once in a while, like once in every, 350 years that Shelley and I make a mistake. No, I should say, I make a mistake about every 352 seconds, but Shelley's usually a lot better than me. Oh, well.
Until I talk into my Nord.
We talked about this yesterday with Mike Elam, and it seems as though that there's growing. Matter of fact, the governor of California is now calling out the states by name. And guess whose name he mentioned? Calling out the states by name who haven't issued a statewide stay-at-home order. So there are some people.
One of them, I gather.
Yeah, there are some people that say it's going to happen today. Other people that say it's going to happen tomorrow. But Governor Parson is going to say, "Okay, stay-at-home order." And we talked about the ones yesterday, or was it today's Thursday? Tuesday was Maryland, and what was the other state? Maryland and Virginia issued stay-at-home orders through what did I say? June 10th? Wasn't that the date I gave? June 10th?
Yeah. Well, these are. I heard that this particular letter that you're talking about from CISA.
May 28th. Isn't that what the date on it is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we have CISA authority until May 28th. So you know what?
Yes.
Don't give us any grief between now and May 28th, because we will just slap that CISA letter right in your face and say, hey, I got a CISA letter and you don't.
That's kind of actually how it's going to go.
Do we take ourselves too seriously or what? Don't mess with me. You better be, I mean, like, let's say somebody gives you grief today. Just here's what you say. Don't mess with me. I got a CISA letter. And you know what? You don't. So that makes
and
me.
And CISA is not for sissies.
Well, I think, I'm pretty sure they call it CISA, but with our crazy English language, it could be KISA too, CISA. But normally,
no, it's CISA.
But
it's
I mean,
cyber.
You're right, exactly. Cyber, yes. The C would be the SC instead of the hard CC. The hard, isn't that weird?
The National Communications Coordination Branch.
Think about how tough it is to learn our language. People see, cat, crawl, that kind of a thing, and then they see a C and they go like kissa, or they go like, or like for example, the word scissors, sickors. You know what I mean? It's to the point where it's like...
I do. The English language is kind of different. It's like the streets in St. Louis that have 3 different names, but it's the same street. You never get off of it.
Yeah.
3 or 4 different names.
Yeah, but that's not as confusing as some cities. I mean, like, for example...
It absolutely is confusing.
Well, no, we don't have the situation like in downtown St. Louis, and also like in certain other communities around here. Washington's like that. They have the French system of streets, where the streets going one direction are numbers and the streets going in the other direction are, like, for example, the streets in the city of St. Louis, north and south, are numbers, and the streets going east and west are trees. You got olive, and you've got things like that. But like in New York, you could be at the corner of 5th Avenue and 5th Street, which to me gets really confusing. Minneapolis is like that as well too. Minneapolis has a system where there are street names that are numbers, and there are there avenues and their streets. So
and courts.
No, they don't have it in the city. In the cities like that, it's either streets or avenues. That's the way it is with New York, where you can have a numbered number, like 5th Avenue, but there's 5th Street as well too. And they run, I can't remember how it is in New York. One of them, the streets run, excuse me, I think the streets run north and south, and the avenues run east and west. I'll look at that, and because I know that's pressing information.
Well, all I know is that Hanley is St. Ferdinand. It is, what else is it?
But Hanley's different because Hanley's
not different, and neither is Lindbergh.
No. Hanley's different because Hanley was a conglomeration of a bunch of streets they turned into north and south.
That's what it was.
Well, yeah, but they didn't all connect. See, it used to be that Graham ended.
They did my whole life, because the only way that you could actually get to North County from Clayton is taking Hanley.
Okay, you are talking to the authority because
you're the
no. I used to live on Graham, and to the point where, I mean, it wasn't Graham when I lived there, but the problem was that when I went to, I owned a house there up in Hazelwood, and the problem was sometimes when I had things to do with like the deed of the house, it still showed the address, and it was a different address. A totally different address. It wasn't even the same address. It was a different address on Graham. And there were old maps that when you came south in Graham off of 270, when you came south in Graham, it ended down in Berkeley. And if you know where I'm talking about, if you go south of North Hanley from 270.
I know exactly, because I actually walked that stretch.
Yes, but they put those together, and another part of North Hanley was Carson, when you get down in like the Veneta Park area and areas like that, and the county put that together where they made a street that goes north. Hanley goes from Clayton all the way into North County, but it didn't used to be that way, and that's what's confusing is a lot of the streets on there, because when they consolidated them, they changed the names. That's why the name changed, because they essentially, the streets didn't connect, and then they connected them all, and then they put one name on all of them. And I think it's started the same way when you go south, but then ultimately you get to a certain point on Hanley in the south where it ends and it turns into Laclede Station, which is even more confusing. But anyway,
exactly.
What are we talking about? People are going like, "What the hell are they talking about?" We got to play some commercials. We'll be back at 6:30.
This is BS in the Morning. I am Brad. He is Shelley. Hi, Shelley. How are you doing? I know he's there, everybody, because you can hear me. Normally, he keeps me down. He keeps my volume down.
Hey, no, just think about what you said. There's going to be some woman who's now going to send me a nasty text. It's going to say, Shelley said it. You're a man, and you keep her down. She said it. Normally, he keeps me.
My goodness. People need to lighten up.
You think I'm kidding about stuff like this? Oh, my God.
I do, actually.
I can tell you a funny story about a dude friend of mine who, this is actually sort of funny because he told me this. He gets a email from a let's call it a female friend of his. I don't know exactly what the relationship is, but I think they're probably friends or maybe more than friends. Anyway, he gets a text from her saying, and she's off work because her job is essentially not essential. And she's doing stuff around the house, and she's watching some home improvement video, and they're talking about, well, here's what you should do around your house, and they're doing all the maintenance things, and they're talking about one of the things is changing the filter on your furnace. So, most of the time it's pretty easy. There's usually like a little panel. You go and find it on your furnace or your air handler, whichever kind of, system you have. And it's usually in the basement, or if you have like a house it's sort of tough if you have a house that's like like a slab home, doesn't have a basement. Sometimes the HVAC system is up in the attic, like in apartments and things like that. They're normally like in a closet.
We have one. Our house is zoned, and we have one that's up in the attic above the garage.
Right. So some of them are hard to get to, but majority of them,
yes, they are.
At least in the St. Louis area, if you have a house with a basement, that's where your furnace is. Anyway, so she's watching this video, and it says, here's what you do to replace your air filter. And, so she goes downstairs and pulls out the air filter. And when she looks in, there's a dead mouse because this air filter is like in the bottom of the furnace. And when she pulls it out, pulls this little access plate out, there's a dead mouse in there. And she goes upstairs and texts him and says, you're not going to believe it, but I'm grossed out. I was watching this video, and it told me how to do this, and I pulled out the filter, and there's a dead mouse in there. And she goes, and it's like, ew, like that, okay? So he texts her back, do you want me to come and get it out of there? And she texts back, no, I'm a feminist. I'm perfectly capable of doing it myself. So it's like, he's going like, well, then why did she text me? It's one of those things. It's like, and at that point it's like, and I've told you the story that, when I go in and out of stores and stuff like that, I'll always hold the door for someone. And it hasn't happened to me in about the last year or so. But I've actually held like where I've been walking into a store and you hear someone walking in behind you, but they're not necessarily right behind you. Let's say they're like 15, 20 feet. They're still come off the parking lot, or you know what I'm talking about? And I do
know what you're talking about.
I've held the door open for women, and they've said to me, I'm perfectly capable of opening the door myself. Okay, whatever. And I sort of just bit my tongue, and and the idea being was, I do the same thing for a dude. You know what I mean? If there's some guy walking behind me. I have never
had anybody said that to me.
Oh my God!
Unless they were I had one time a disabled person said, "You don't have to open the door for me. I can get it myself."
Well, I get where they're coming from because of the fact that they're trying to be independent, but still,
yeah. But that's a fine line, because you don't want to sit there and be a jerk and not offer them some help if they're struggling.
I agree.
But by the same token, you don't want to insult them and make them think that they need to have.
Yeah, but look what they did to you. They made you feel bad because you were trying to help them out. They essentially pointed out the fact that well, I'm handicapped, but you know what? I can take care of myself. Once again, it's common courtesy. Geez, where in a world?
It is common courtesy.
Where in the world did that go?
I always open up. It doesn't matter who it is. I always open up the door for people.
Well, yeah, once again, it's just like, and see, the thing that bothers me about it is that everybody has sort of like subdivided themselves. Like, well, I'm a woman, I'm a Latino man, I'm a blah, 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 blah. Hey, we're all humans. You know what I mean? We're not monkeys. We're not, Panthers or cougars, although Shelley could be, no, Shelley's not a cougar anymore. She's
a panther. Or we could be a fox. What does the fox say?
You almost had it perfectly. Was it live or was it Shelley, recorded? And then there's the classic one.
I don't think that we should be called cougars anymore. I think we should be called panthers.
Okay. I go back to after 9/11. There seemed to be a niceness that sort of swept over the country. And
yes, and I think that this will prevail as well. We will see the worst of humanity and the best of humanity.
I was drinking my soda. I was going to say, so far, I've seen the niceness. And, once again, man, it happened to me yesterday. If I'm out and people go, oh, he's out and about. Hey, I'm a single guy, live by myself, I don't have a kitchen, okay? People go like, what? I do have a kitchen, but it's full of tools, which is a whole other story. But I don't have a functional kitchen. I don't even have a sink that works in my kitchen. That's how bad my situation is, okay? If I turn on, I do have a sink that works. The water runs just fine, but when you turn on the water, it pours out underneath the sink. But that's a whole other story. But
because there's no pipe?
No, I got a bad.
Or no dishwater or
I've got
InSinkerator.
Yeah, I got a bad. When the place was abandoned for several years, they didn't. I live in an abandoned house. When the place was abandoned for several years, they didn't purge the water lines, and several pipes froze and broke. And of all crazy things, the garbage disposal broke because there was water in the bottom of the garbage disposal because there's always a little bit of water in there. And when it froze, it broke the bottom of the garbage disposal out. I mean, literally like cracked the bottom of it out. So it's got a big hole in the bottom. So water goes in, water comes out. Anyway, the point being, my routine is I go through the drive-thru, I go to the grocery store, and I thank the people working there. And I'm walking up down the aisles yesterday, and I said to the one guy, hey man, thanks. A guy at Schnucks, hey man, thanks for coming in and working today. And he looked at me and he says, you're the first person that ever told me that. And I'm going like, well, hopefully I won't be the last, because I do appreciate the fact that you're here and you're keeping the place stocked, because you know what? If the Schnucks wasn't open or the Deerbergs wasn't open or wherever you shop, we'd all be in trouble, because we made fun of the preppers, and now the preppers are sitting back going like, ha, 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 I got 2 years worth of food and you got 24 hours worth of food. Ha, ha, ha. Right? Do you think that's what the preppers are doing?
That's pretty much accurate, yes.
Yeah. They're all going like,
neener, boo, boo.
Right. You made fun of me when I started, buying all this stuff online and going to the preppers convention, and now I'm the guy sitting here with water that's, like to last me for the next 3 years and enough food to feed my family for the next 2 years. And you're trying to, you're sweating it out, going to the store trying to find toilet paper. But that's a whole nother story. Okay, it's 6:47.
Tornadoes can destroy buildings.
Westplex 107.1. Do. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs. Still is. 7:04. Good morning. It is BS in the morning. Brad, and that's what I said. She's just jumping on stuff all the time. It is BS in the morning. Brad and Shelley, and we have a special guest on the phone with us this morning, Jan Stanzik. Jan, good morning. How you doing?
I'm great this morning. How are you, Brad?
Doing fine. Now, Jan is a brave woman, because first off, she's going to come on the air with me, and I'm going to talk to her, and she's brave just for that. But you are in an industry that a lot of people are probably going like, wow, she's in a tough industry. She is in the travel business.
That's right. Yeah, it's been a little tough over the last month or so, but we're going to get through it. It's all going to be good.
Now, let's talk about that. A lot of people, who've had vacations booked, how's that going on right now? Let's say you had something booked for May or June. What are you doing with those people?
Well, I think that for June, I think everyone's going to be great and be just fine, as long as it isn't to Europe. Europe is going to probably come back a little bit slower. We have most of the tour companies have their dates out right now of when they're going to start tours again. Ireland isn't until like May 31st. Europe is kind of like maybe around July, so I don't think you'll see much going on there until until the end of June, maybe the beginning of July. But the Caribbean, it's coming back much faster. Things are going to start happening. The cruise lines are set to start sailing again around May 12th. Now, that could change, but that's what it is right now. One of our most popular things is the charters to places like Punta Cana and Mexico, and those are set to come back and start rolling again on May 21st and May 22nd.
Now, and there hasn't been much out of Mexico as far as the virus is concerned. Matter of fact, I haven't heard hardly anything. Are the resorts down in Mexico, are they running right now, or are they shut down as well?
Most of them are shut down, but actually they just shut down, and I think mostly because the borders were closed, and so there wasn't a choice. But most of those did not shut down until towards the end of March. Dates are on March 27 and 25th and things like that. So I know that they have some cases down there, but nothing to the degree that we have here.
Yeah, I know. That's what we were talking about the other day, and it's just to the point where you don't hear hardly anything about what's going on in Mexico. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that it's warmer down there, and like with the how it is. You worry about getting flu and viruses in the winter, but the further south you go in Mexico, it doesn't get that cold in the winter.
That's right. Yeah, and and they're saying obviously they don't know a lot about the virus, but they do think that the heat is one thing that kind of makes it die out. So I do know that they have some, around, but I mean, very few compared to what we have here. So it's all good, and I'm sure that closing the borders was the best thing that could have happened to all of them, and what they do have will die out. And so, but by May, by the end of May, everything's going and rolling again as it is set right now. Again, like I said, it's changed about 2 or 3 times, and it can change again. But I think that we are set to start flattening the curve, as they say, hopefully, and fingers crossed and prayers given. But I think that the end of May, we're going to see a big, huge difference.
Now, you've been doing this for how many years now?
Embarrassed to say about 40.
Wow. So you've been through the economic meltdown 2007, 8, and 9. You were around during 9/11.
Yep.
How would you categorize this as far as, it's like 9/11, it's nothing like anything before? How would you put it where we're going through right now, travel-wise?
Well, I think that 9/11 was probably the worst thing prior to this. But the thing about 9/11 is it was short-lived. It was only about 2 weeks long, and then things came back relatively quickly. I was on a plane 2 weeks after that happened, and wrecking because it was the unknown. But everything was fine, and nothing happened after that. This is obviously long-term. So we truthfully have been canceling every reservation that we had that we've booked for months and months. We canceled all of the majority of March, all of May, all of April. So sorry, all of April, most of May, and now we're into the very end when things are going to start coming back. Now the cruise lines are saying that they're going to start sailing again on May 12th. I have my fingers crossed. Again, everything can change, but that's what it's set right now, that most of the cruise lines are going to start back on May 12th.
And the cruise industry is pretty much dominated by Carnival because they own a lot of the other lines now, Holland, places like that. And they're pretty well set. I mean, they're not to the point where they're not going to go on out of business any day. It's to the point where they've got pretty much of a cash reserve, don't they?
Yeah, no, I mean, those are, the enormous companies. So, no, I don't think that they will. I mean, hard hit, absolutely. I mean, they are taking hits every day. And, poor Holland America sitting out there not being able to come in with the sick people. I mean, that's just a horrific situation. And it's something that just has to play out. Unfortunately, no one ever predicted this, and it's just it's a sad situation. So, but it will all come back. I mean, we had a call yesterday asking for a cruise for the end of the year. So we do know. I mean, I can tell you one thing from being in this business for so long is that Americans only stay down for so long, and then they are ready and itching to go. So we do think that by the end of May that our phones will be ringing and people will be calling and ready to get out of town. I hear it all the time right now. I am so ready to go someplace. I myself have had about 3 meetings canceled. I should have been in Punta Cana. I should have been in Orlando, and I should have been in Hawaii. And all 3 were canceled. So everybody is going to be ready to hit the road pretty soon.
Now, do you do any trips to Las Vegas?
Yeah.
And
all the time.
And that's sort of a weird situation. I had somebody yesterday ask me, they said, are the casinos closed? Yep, casinos are pretty much all closed.
They are. Yeah.
When do you think Vegas is going to come back?
Oh, I'm thinking about that May time as well. I think that we are held down, we're in shelter for the month of April. And so then I think I also heard that by the middle of May that they're expecting things to turn around, which is probably why they have these set. And, it's a big thing to set these dates because everything has to be cleared through so many different channels. And so I think that they're feeling pretty comfortable with that May date for the charters to start back up to Cancun and Punta Cana. So that gives me a lot of positive hope as well.
Now, you talked about after 9/11 and after a couple of weeks, was it like all of a sudden like a wave of business that came back to you, or did it come back sort of slowly?
Well, after 9/11, it was the scare of everything. So everyone was so afraid to get on a plane, and I think that the flights did stop temporarily for maybe about a week and a half, but then the rest of it was just fear. But then everything, corporate travel got back, and everybody's trips just resumed. This obviously is just so much different. Now, there are still flights that are flying. It's just there are so many less flights. A lot of the airlines have had to cancel a lot of their flights because they just don't have the passengers. So, it's taken its toll all the way around. The travel industry is hard hit, no doubt.
Jan Stanzik from Jan's Travel, and you have 2 locations. Let's give you the plugs that you deserve.
Thanks.
2 locations, phone numbers, all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have an office in Kirkwood and an office in O'Fallon in Winghaven. Travel Leaders / Jan's Travel and Cruise. I would love it if you would hop on and like our Facebook page. I try to keep updates on there as far as when things are starting again, when they're traveling. Also, I've been asked to put specials. The fall is going to be just stocked with all kinds of great deals for land vacations and for cruises. So you can find us at Travel Leaders / Jan's Travel and Cruise there. Brad, one thing that I want to say is, as a travel agent, we sit there every day and make reservations for people going on dream vacations. And what we hear all the time is when we say, do you want insurance? A lot of people, of course, take travel insurance, but there's also a pretty good amount of people that say, nah, I don't need it. I'm going no matter what. Well, these are the times that the no matter what happens, that you don't go. So one thing I urge people is, this is one more time that travel insurance has really, really stepped in and helped people out. Although, I will say, because of the circumstances, just about every tour company that we deal with has also really given money back and taken care of people. But those with travel insurance were even that much better off.
Huh. And I think, you deal with a lot of different reputable companies. The reputable companies realize that if they start messing with the customers right now, they ain't never going to get them back, are they?
Right. Well, and it was the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And people not losing money. So
yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And once again, here's the question: are you doing okay? Everything going, I mean, obviously this is trying times for you. You're a vet. You've been through it before. I mean, do you wake up in the morning and still have that vim and vigor to get to work? Or is it like, oh, my God, another day of cancellations?
Well, I will say that the first 2 to 3 weeks was pretty discouraging and almost to the point of getting to me because every day, all these reservations that from both offices that we had made over, 6-8 months, we were just canceling. And we actually don't have there's not a dollar that comes in our door right now, nothing. And so, but, been through it all, been here a long time. We are working our 34th year in business, and we don't plan on going anywhere. We'll make it. The government is, trying to help us as much as it's remarkable some of the things that are out there. I'm applying for all of those. I encourage all small businesses to do the same, and we'll make it. It'll be okay.
Wonderful attitude, Jan. I have to tell you, I've known you through the chamber for a while. You've been on a radio station. I do appreciate all your business. You are always a very positive person, very professional, and I appreciate you. And I hope that when things get unfunky, shall we say, that you are just get so busy you won't even be able to talk to me anymore on the air. How's that?
I'm counting on that, Brad. That's my hope, and I so appreciate you saying those nice things.
Well, they're all true, and by the way, you always give great after-hours parties. We love those.
Thanks.
The reputation we have these things in the O'Fallon Chamber called after hours, and essentially it's businesses that host something, usually 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and sort of a meet and greet kind of thing, which we can't do anymore, but that's a whole other story. But Jan always goes above and beyond the call of duty, and I still have my sailor hat from one who was, I think, was last year before.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah. Well, travel is fun, so we like to make it fun.
Yep. Jan, thank you so much. Jan Stanzik, Jan's Travel, and you can find them. And web address one more time?
The web address is www.travelleaders-janstravel.com. And if anybody is interested in travel from May through the rest of the year or next year, and also the other charters to Cancun and Punta Cana, they're all out and available for us to book for 2021. They came out early, so if you're, like I said, prices are great. So if you're interested in going, there's also a form to fill out to request travel on our Facebook, on our website. And then also, like I said, if you go to our Facebook and like Travel Leaders /Jan's Travel and Cruise, I would love it. Thanks.
Got it. Jan, thank you much for being on the air. Thank you so much for being on the air with this morning. Do appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. What a nice lady she is. I mean, how would you like to be in that business right now?
She really is.
I mean,
and she's consistently nice.
Well,
it's not just
the positive
an
attitude,
act.
man.
I mean, she really is just a good soul.
Oh, yeah, and the positive attitude. I mean, you know me, Shelley, last week or so, I've been like, man, what are we doing? I mean, there's days where, I mean, like when she said, and I'll be very blunt and say exactly what she said. With our business, there ain't no money coming in. I mean,
That's true.
I mean, we are not, I shouldn't even admit this. I mean, we just don't have any new advertisers. I mean, quite honestly, just none. And everybody, the advertisers on the air who have stuck with us, thank you so much. But, Shelley and I make calls every day, nothing. And to the point where we are a small business. And, what's interesting about this is that I have had a couple conversations yesterday with other small business people, not necessarily in the broadcasting business, but in other businesses, and sort of like, hey, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? What are you up to? What are you trying to, who are you calling? As people are taking your calls, or people responding to emails and things like that. And I think it's one of those things where it's sort of the fraternity of small business. No matter what business you're in, be it, auto repair or like with Jan with the travel business, there's certain things that we all sort of deal with, and we're not the big boys. We're not the big monster. In our case, we're not the iHearts or the Hubbards or the Intercoms, and, it's not to the point where we've got a $1 billion line of credit at the bank. Matter of fact, I've got my dollar line of credit at the bank, and that's the dollar I dropped in the lobby when you could still get in the lobby, and I think it's probably still there. So that's my line of credit at the bank. But, it's sort of funky. And especially, in light of the fact that we talked about this earlier, probably today or tomorrow, Governor Parson will issue the lockdown for the state of Missouri. So
I really think that that's going to happen.
yeah,
I really do.
Well, I think he's being forced into it. And, one of those things where I think that Steve Ellman had the right attitude, but even he's changed his attitude. His attitude was essentially, look, you know what, you shouldn't be, if you don't have to be out and about, you shouldn't be out and about. But yet, some of the other crazy stuff, like I'm seeing all these interesting things. Like I saw this thing this morning, which was sort of funny, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'd put that picture up on my Facebook page, but there'd probably be somebody who is Catholic who would complain. You know what the picture is?
No.
It's a priest it looks like it's in someone's house. It's a priest, and he's in the left side of the frame of the picture, and he's holding one of those super squirter squirt guns. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And on the other side of the room, about 10 feet away, is a young couple, and the guy is holding the baby up, like out toward, away from his chest, and the priest is squirting the little baby with the squirt gun to baptize the baby. And I thought to myself, okay, in one respect, that's really cute. In the other respect, how sad is that?
It's pretty. It's pretty.
It's
ingenious.
Yes, exactly.
And it does.
Right.
They're doing christenings.
Right. They're doing their social distancing thing, but at the same point in time, it's like, man, it's sad we got to do that kind of stuff. But you know what? Jan had a positive attitude, and just keep slugging away.
Does. She always does.
Yeah,
she's lovely.
She's a good woman. And
she's my doppelganger. People think that we look like each other, that we're sisters.
Well, you have the same kind of attitude, and the only difference is that Jan is a safe driver, and Shelley is. Well, I won't even say. I won't complete the thought. Jan has never cut me off on the highway, and Jan has never blown past me when I'm doing.
Her car. The only reason why you knew it was me is because my license plate say "Be Happy."
I know her car, and because her license plate is.
I don't know her car.
I know her car. It's real easy because your license plate is "Be Happy." You know what her license plate is?
No.
I'm not Shelley. Westplex 107.1, The Middle. Good morning to you. It is 7:32. This is BS in the Morning. I am Brad. She is Shelley. Did I get it right that time, or did I screw it up?
No, you actually got it right that time.
You've got to figure it out. She's going like, Brad, Shelley, man. You probably couldn't hear that.
Yeah, no, I could hear it because I was doing it.
She's doing the mental math, a little bit out loud, sort of whispering it. BS in the Morning.
I do that a lot.
Yes, bsinthemorning.show is our web address. A couple minutes ago, well, 2 songs ago, we had 2 songs ago and some commercials ago, we had Jan Stanzik on from Jan's Travel, and I have to tell you, she made my day because of the fact that if there's anybody in a business that if you had to say, well, and people go like, oh my God, that must really suck to be in your business now. You know what I mean? She's in the travel business. And normally, what a great business to be in because she travels all over the world to personally check out these places. And I think that's what's a lot of people don't realize is anybody can throw up a bunch of pictures on the internet and go, hey, look at how great this place is. It's wonderful. And you get there and it's like terrible. Whereas with her, she's been to a lot of these places, and when she says, oh my God, this is a wonderful location, the service is great, and the place is super clean and you'll love it, she's been there, done that. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
As opposed to
and she's takes the show me mentality and takes it to another level.
Yeah. And once again, a small business person, not a huge, monster corporation. She has their 2 locations in Kirkwood and O'Fallon out there in Winghaven. And you know what? She's got people that are working for her. She's got a very nice office. I've never been to the Kirkwood office, but the O'Fallon office is very nice. She's great to deal with. And, really, 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 to me, typifies an excellent small business owner and someone who's, in it for you and me as consumers and also trying to help out the community at the same time. Because she's always involved with the trunk or treat thing that we do. And,
she is.
Doing things for the community, stuff like that. Anyway, good stuff. Lots of stuff to talk about this morning. 7:34, it is BS in the Morning. You can check out our website at bsinthemorning.show. Haven't talked about this much lately. And quite honestly, I've been a little bit sort of busy during the day. Shelley and I are now doing, instead of 2 hours in the air, we're now doing 5. We're on the air till 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we come back and do 4 to 6. And not to give you an excuse, but I haven't been totally keeping up on putting the stuff on our podcasts. I'm a day behind again, I believe, or might be even 2 days behind now. Oof.
And people notice that, Brad.
I know. You have people who call and complain to you. Hey, where's the podcast? Anyway, I know I got Monday up there. I'll try to get I don't think I've done one since Monday, so I need to get them up there. Anyway, you can go to our website, bsthemorning.show. You can click on the podcast link. It's actually a page on there on the website, or you can just go to bradbs.com. It'll take you right to the podcasts, and we put them up there and try to keep them as current as possible. Normally, I get them on usually right after I get off the air, but with us pulling some longer days. And you know what? I have to tell you something. And God, it's going to sound like I'm gushing or something like that. But you know what? That interview I did with Jan, that's why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. We're trying to not be all gloom and doom. We're trying to get people on the air, talk to people. We get Mike Elam on the air, and he's pretty positive guy, but he gives us the straight scoop. He's telling us what's going on in the county, and he's keeping very much abreast of what's going on in the entire region and the entire state for that matter. And, at the same time, him and I can kid around, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to essentially move things forward and not be like, if I were you, I'd crawl down in the corner of your basement and cover yourself up and come out in a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And not that you should do what I do, but man, I'll tell you, in the last week or so, for sure the last week, when I go into, the Schnooks or the Deerbergs, and when I walk by those people. Yesterday I was walking by guys stocking shelves and Schnooks, and actually 2 guys, and I said, hey man, thanks for coming in and working. And both of them, the one guy was just sort of smiled and said thanks, and the other guy was like, wow, what a nice thing to say. So you know what? There are people out there busting it for you and I, and a lot of people are sitting at home, And by the way, I have not said, up until this point, I have not said one thing about this, but you and I should talk about this next break. I'm going to give 2 words, and you're either going to know exactly what I'm talking about, or you're going to go, what in the hell are you talking about? Okay, the 2 words.
What are the 2 words?
Joe Exotic.
I know what you're talking about.
I think everybody does. It's to the point where that's like
only because I saw it on Facebook.
Oh my God! I read an article yesterday about, and if you know what we're talking about, it's this, shall we say, interesting character who's got 10 names. His name's like Joe something 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 something, and he's right now in jail. And if you know what we're talking about, it's so bizarre and so weird. And what's interesting is that yesterday I read an article about the woman, his nemesis, the gal who was at the Tiger Savior Center or whatever the heck it is. And she's complaining that the documentary people, the people that put this documentary together, have made it salacious and very, not really true to the story. Okay? So welcome to the world of media, welcome to the world of reality TV, and I'm not saying that they did it on purpose, but the crazy thing about this is when you do a documentary, it's not like a reality show where you're saying, okay, here's what we want to have happen. We want to have, like Big Brother or something like that, or The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. We want to have confrontation. We want to have tears. And to a certain extent, that's coached. Believe me when I tell you that. But when you're shooting a documentary, and what typically happens is that a lot of these documentaries, some of them take years, and I think I read the story that they were filming this documentary for Tiger King or whatever the heck it's called for 4 years. So nobody knew what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going to happen along the, essentially they were just there taking, shooting video the entire time. And then after the whole thing ends up where he gets, if you know the whole story, he gets thrown in jail for trying to kill this lady who's trying to stop him. And even who would have known that was going on 4 years ago?
Nobody.
Yeah. So it can't be, like reality show where there's it's not like I kid all the time about Pawn Stars, where the guys walk into the location and they've got they're already got a microphone on, they've got the wireless mic, and they've got the belt pack on, but you don't see it, and they're already mic'd up because they already vetted those people. They have open casting calls for those people. Hey, we're going to do another episode of Pawn Stars, and come on down to the so-and-so convention center in Las Vegas and show us what you got, and we'll determine. And more importantly, they want to see how goofy you can be on screen. You know what I mean? Say goofy stuff and act weird, and be bizarre. You know what I mean? That's what they're looking for. They're looking for weirdos. How come you've never?
Yeah, they are.
How come you've never been on Pawn Stars before then?
Because I don't want to take my stuff all the way to Vegas.
Do you know when wasn't the last time I went to Vegas for the convention, but the time before? I went down there.
I didn't know, but
yeah.
Okay.
It's a little tiny place. It's not very big at all.
No, I know that because when my LBIF, which by the way, Jan's Travel made the arrangements for my LBIF, Lisa.
You know what? I should have mentioned that. Yes, that was the thing we did. But yeah, so yeah, you went. Well, you didn't go there. What? Somebody went there, didn't they? Wasn't it her sister or something?
The Pawn Stars?
Yeah.
No.
You went there?
We didn't walk in, but we were by there.
Oh yeah. It's a little tiny place.
Yeah, it is.
On the
it's got a big sign. I think the sign is bigger than
yes, it is.
The actual building.
Right, and it's not in the best neighborhood in Las Vegas. Actually, it's not too far from downtown Las Vegas. Matter of fact, when you, it's about 6 or 7 blocks from the county government center. It's right down the street, and whatever county it is. Is that Bexar? No, it's Clark County. That's right. It's right down the street from the Clark County Government Center. And he lost a lot of money. He developed. Did you see the thing he developed across the street?
No.
It was like some kind of little mall he built or something like that had like ice cream.
The Pawn Stars guy?
Yeah. Rick Harrison, I think is his name. And
okay.
He developed this thing across the street. And I don't think it went well for him. He lost his shirt. But he's another guy. Okay, I'm going to ask you this and be honest. On as a woman looking at him, okay? And if you had to rate him 1 to 10, what would you rate him?
Okay, and Rick is not the old man, but the medium man.
Yeah, he's the son. He's the
actual son, but he's the father as well.
Exactly. Yeah, he's the.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I really don't look at
Come on,
the exterior of people.
No, give me a number. I mean, if you saw him walking down the street and you were with a girlfriend, you go, "Oh, look at that guy. What do you think?" And what would you say, just off the top of your head, 1 to 10?
Well, it would all depend on what came out of his mouth.
No. Once again, you're walking down the street.
It really does, because I could think someone's attractive, but if they sit there and start spewing a bunch of negativity, I'm not attracted to them anymore.
Okay, let me change the question. You're standing in front of your house, a car drives by, and it's a brand new Corvette, 1 to 10.
Okay, so, and you're wanting the if I would think he's attractive with the Corvette?
You're making this so much difficult. Okay, once again, I get what you're saying about, I want to know the person and I want to know what's in his heart and his soul, because you're that kind of a person. But once again, a guy walks
Brad.
The guy walks down the street and someone says to your girlfriend, or you're with your daughter, and your daughter says, "Hey, look at that guy. What do you think? Is he 1 to 10?" And right off the top of your mind, what would you say about Rick Harrison? Not that he's a smart guy or that he can, he can talk to you and he's funny and he's got a great sense of humor. What would you say he is?
Well, I don't go by looks, Brad, but
God.
I would
Never
say...
mind. Forget it.
Because he's not completely unfortunate looking.
Forget it!
So I would say 7.5 or 8.
Okay, well, that's better than I thought. But the point being is that, he got remarried recently, and he married a woman who's I think 20 years younger than him, and she's like a 9 in anybody's book.
Okay, so is he 50? 50-something?
Oh, I don't know how old he is. I think he's older than that. Here, let me look. I think he's here, let me look. Wikipedia. Here's my source. I love Wikipedia, and I know it's, once again...
Yes, I know, in the Urban Dictionary.
Well, the Wikipedia is, for a while, and to give you an idea of how people can write on here, our other station, Crap, somebody put on Wikipedia that, if you look up radio stations on Wikipedia, it says like, WXYZ broadcasts from studios in downtown blah blah blah, and their transmitters located at blah 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 blah. It's stuff like that. It's all like technical stuff. Okay, so somebody put that we broadcast from a sewer. That's what it used to say. Did you know that?
Us?
Yes. On the Wikipedia page for KRAP, it used to say that we broadcast from a sewer. That's what it said on our Wikipedia page, and somebody changed it. Okay. Richard Kevin.
Who did that?
I don't know. He is 55. He was born in 1965.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And he is married to he has
12-year-old.
No, his third wife. His first wife was Kim Harrison. He married her in 82, divorced in 85. Second wife was Tracy Harrison. Married her in 86, divorced in 2011. And third wife is Deanna Burdett, and he married her in 2013. You know what?
How old is she? 12?
I don't know. It doesn't have a link for her. He's got. I didn't realize this. He's got 4 kids, and Corey is the one who's on the show with him. Whose son and his father.
That's whiny.
His father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, and I do believe he passed away. Yes, he passed away. He passed away 2 years ago, June 25th. He was the old man and the appraiser, and he was a matter of fact. If you ever heard the story of him,
he was a diamond in the rough.
Well, he was an interesting character too, because I heard an interview with him once and talked about the fact that he joined the Navy because he got forced to join the Navy. Apparently, he robbed something or something like that. Back in the day, there was a deal. I don't know if they still do it anymore, but back in the day, if you got arrested for various things, instead of going to prison, you could join the military.
Actually, it's not like that anymore. If you have something on your record or you've gotten in trouble, you cannot join the military.
But remember, they changed it because I remember reading, my dad told me stories about that because my dad, was in World War II and then was in the reserves for, his total career in the Army was 40 years. And he told me some of the guys he was in the Army with, like in Europe, who was like, okay, these guys were my buddies, but I don't think, once we got out of the service, I don't think I want to have much to do with them anymore, because they were like some real characters. Anyway, we're going way long. We got to take a break. It's 7:47. You know what? One of these days, I'm going to figure out this system. I'm not going to screw it up at least once every morning. Now it's 7:47. Westplex 107.1. It is BS in the Morning, 7:54. I am Shelley. She is Brad. Our website is bsinthemorning.show. I find this time interesting because some people are like wound way too tight and all they can do is say negative stuff. And other people can have fun and by the same token, put a smile on their face. I saw the funniest video last night. It started out as like a tactical, not like almost like a SWAT team, but these were like Army kind of, like SEAL kind of guys. And it starts out with a sniper and he's firing cover fire. And then you see this like, SWAT team, tactical team, like Army or Navy SEALs kind of guys who are all like, got all the combat gear on and I've got all the assault weapons and the whole bit. And they're going through a building and they're clearing the building. And obviously they're trying to, and it almost looks like they're trying to get like a hostage. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
And then finally, and they're breaking down doors and they're blowing up doors and things like that. And finally they get in this one room and there's this big, like almost like a zipper bag, a huge zipper bag that they grab and they pull out of the building and then like they retreat from the building and they're firing, like back at people who are trying to defend the building and the whole bit. And they get away and they all get like, where they're, back in safety and they open up the bag. It's got a big zipper on it. You know what's in it?
A head?
Toilet paper.
Oh, how funny.
So they've attacked this building, this SWAT squad, like Navy SEAL kind of guys. And they attack this building for a cache of toilet paper, which is like, okay, pretty funny. Anyway, and the reason I brought that up was, here's the story. It's not just toilet people are rushing to buy. The FBI reported 3.7 million gun purchase background checks in the month of March. That's 41% above what it normally would be in a single month. Updated guidance from the federal government has designated firearm and ammunition resale. Let me try it again. Updated guidance from the federal government has designated firearm and ammunition retailers as essential services, which means they can stay open despite a growing number of states issuing stay-at-home orders. Which brings me to give a plug for one of our advertisers, Metro Shooting Supplies. He's not saying, hey, come in and buy guns. Well, actually, he is, and buy ammunition. What he's advertising on our radio station is he needs help. He's so busy with people coming in and buying guns and ammunition, also has a shooting range, that he needs people to work. If you've been laid off, if you don't have a job right now, this is the opportunity to essentially work at the place. He's looking preferably for people who have retail and retail firearms experience. If you've worked at a gun shop before, as far as being able to sell and answer questions for people, but to the point where if you are interested, I think he would probably take you under his wing and train you a little bit. Also looking for a safety officer for their their shooting range. I've been to the shooting range before. Very nice range. It's still open. The gun store's still open. Looking for firearm safety officer, a range safety officer. And essentially your job is to hang out at the range and make sure that everybody is being good little doobies and not, trying to spin the gun around on their finger like Wyatt Earp or something like that. And once again, perfect job for someone who has security background, military background, police background, or if you're just an enthusiast, he's looking to hire. He preferred that you go to his website, fill out an application. The website is buylearnshoot.com. 3 words, but stick them all together in the website. Buy is B-U-I, buylearnshoot.com. He has 2 locations. Location primarily that most of our listeners would be interested in is Bridgeton. He's right off the Rock Road, just about maybe a half mile west of Lindbergh on St. Charles Rock Road. If you know that area, he's on the Rock Road between Lindbergh and 70. It's only about a mile stretch there where 70 crosses underneath the Rock Road and Lindbergh goes over the Rock Road. He's about, if you want to look at it this way, if you remember where Northwest Plaza was, which now it's still there, but it's different. There's no more fountains. He's right down there. So check it out, buylearnshoot.com.
I will actually do that. And I've been actually sending out his information to several people that I think would be a good fit.
Right, especially if you're ex-military, if you had military experience, and once again, no matter what branch of the service you're in, you have to go through basic, and they teach you how to shoot, mainly rifles. But if you're like an officer, they teach you how to shoot, handguns, stuff like that. And more importantly, they teach you safety with a capital SAFETY. That's probably the most important thing, because I have been to a range before where a guy got kicked out. And it's one of those things where when you got loaded weapons, everybody takes it seriously. And 99.9999999% of people who are at a gun range are very, 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 very cautious. But there's always some clown who comes in, and especially if he's got his girlfriend. I shouldn't say that, should I? Hey.
No, you probably shouldn't.
Look at me. I know how to shoot a gun. And what's funny is she could probably outshoot him. But that's another story. 8 o'clock. Westplex 107.1, only human. That applies to Shelley, not necessarily to me. Some people say I'm not human. You think
you
so?
are a beast.
I'm a beast. Aren't you nice? 8:09. It is BS in the Morning. Our website is bsinthemorning.show. Website for the station is westplex1071.com. If you want Westplex news, we've got the site for you, westplex.news. You want video news, we've got that site as well, too, westplex.video. And, I think that site went down. I have a problem with that. I'm going to have to look at that again. I have to double check that. If you want information on what restaurants in the Westplex are open, what kind of services they offer, go to westplex.directory. There's 2 links on that page. One link goes to the Western St. Charles County Chamber of Commerce, which gives you information on stores and businesses and restaurants in that area. The other one goes to the O'Fallon Chamber of Commerce, and that one's almost all restaurants, isn't it? The last time I looked at it, wasn't that the way it was? It's all restaurants in the Westplex area. It gives their location. services
Yes,
they offer.
and it also
hours.
says what they're doing,
Yes.
and it gives their web addresses.
Right.
And I think that they're updating that weekly.
Yes. Well, no, I think that's almost a daily thing because I've seen some changes on that from day to day. So they're doing a real good job. Both of the chambers are doing that. And thank you so much for trying to help out all the restaurants, the small businesses. That's what we're trying to do. We are a small business. Yes, we are a small business that is in the industry with giants. Pretty much all the radio stations in the St. Louis area now are owned by big monster corporations. And we're not. We're just a mom and pop operation. And I guess I'm the mom and she's the pop. Is that the way it is?
Something like that. You're a mother.
Yeah, okay. I won't go any further than that. Okay. What was, if I ask you the question, when was the last year that NASA launched an astronaut in space aboard an American rocket and spacecraft that originated from American soil? When would you say the last year that was?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Take a guess. 5 years ago, 3 years ago,
No.
2 years ago, 6 years ago,
I'd say 7 years.
9 years ago, 2011.
I was close.
For the first time since the final space shuttle mission in 2011, NASA says astronauts will launch into space on board a American rocket spacecraft from American soil. They're partnering, NASA is partnering with SpaceX, that's the Elon Musk company, and this is a manned SpaceX Demo 2 test flight that's supposed to be scheduled in May. Of course, the launch date could be postponed depending upon the status with the C-19 thing. It's a big step because NASA's Commercial Crew Program, which they're calling it right now, has not all the people who are at the space station, they're going up on Russian rockets. The Russians have been flying us into space, and if you're as old as I am, you would remember a day when we were like racing with the Russians to get to the moon.
Yes, we were.
Now we're letting the Russians fly our guys into space. And get this, I found this was fascinating. Looking for a job, they are now they're interviewing for the next class of astronauts. NASA's next class of astronauts, they already have 12,000 people who have applied to be a part of the next generation astronaut program from NASA. And, you and I are of that generation where we grew up with astronauts and blasting off and going to the moon, and then sort of the thing was, and if you've ever watched the movie Apollo 13, there was this big thing, and we're gonna beat the Russians to the moon, and we're gonna get there, and we're gonna beat them there, and we're gonna first country in the United States, in the Earth, first country off of planet Earth that's gonna plant their flag on the moon, and we're gonna beat those Ruskies, and we did it, and then it just sort of everybody lost interest. And that was, if you watch the movie Apollo 13, because that was Apollo 11 that made it to the moon. And then it got to the point where it's like, no big deal. If you remember the movie, Tom Hanks is sort of disappointed because they're doing these live broadcasts from space and nobody's watching. Nobody cares. Been there, done that. Been to the moon. Okay, what's next? Let's go to Mars. So nobody's really cared about the moon anymore. And then, of course, you know what happened to Apollo 13. They had the explosion, and they barely made it back to the United States, barely made it back to Earth. So that's the situation that has changed. And, I don't really know. My kids are pretty much grown now. But do you think like the grade schoolers and the middle schooler kids right now, do you think that they really even care much about the space program anymore?
I think they do.
You do? God,
I do.
When I was a kid, that was huge. And I remember being in school when if they would have like a space launch and something like that. Sometimes, this dates me, right? Sometimes they would wheel in the TV and
they would
watch it. Remember that? I
do remember that actually.
We're gonna sit here and watch they'd wheel in the TV and the AV cart would come in. Oh boy, we get to watch TV. And we'd sit in our class and and then there would always be like, oh, there's a hold, T-minus 3 minutes and 22 seconds, and there's some problem, some alarm went off, and then it was like, oh, come on, we want to see the space, we want to see the rocket go into the air, and it just doesn't seem like there's that much excitement anymore,
It's because they're all on their Xbox
Yes,
or their
right. They're all on.
PlayStation or whatever the latest thing is.
Now they're all recording TikTok videos. That's what they're doing now.
Exactly. Inappropriate TikTok videos, I might add.
And you still don't get TikTok, do you?
No.
I love TikTok.
To me, it's a time suck.
Oh, I love TikTok.
It makes me mad because I'll watch something and then all of a sudden, poof, it's over and on to the next one. And I don't know how to get back so I can see the whole thing. And I probably have to have a, what's the word? A subscription or a sign-on, and I don't want to do that.
Well, I still do, although I've been canceled for my April appearance when I do speaking engagements in colleges and things like that, and I talk about advertising and marketing. But one of the things I always talk about is the fact that in your hand, if you have a smartphone, you have a incredible creative tool as far as creating videos is concerned. And to the point where, I mean, back in the day, when I first got into television, I did television way back when. Yes, way back when. We had cameras that were, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for the camera, and the lens was like another $40,000 or $50,000. So these cameras were like $100,000 cameras. Okay, this was back in the day when you could buy a brand new car for about $4,000. Okay, and you could buy. Matter of fact, it's sort of funny because every once in a while I'll see this like, hey, in 1969 you could have bought this Corvette for $5,000. You go, whoa! I could have had a brand new Corvette for $5,000. Okay, you hold in your hand a camera that is probably 10,000 times better than what we had back in the day, and these were the top of the line professional. As a matter of fact, I'm what a nerd I am. I can still remember the cameras. They were RCA TK44A cameras. Same cameras that I learned on were the same cameras at the time that were being used by NBC for the nightly news, the Tonight Show, all that kind of stuff. And you hold in your hand not only a camera, but editing, sweetening, all sorts of different things. You can buy all the different programs to, like the mobile version of all the Adobe products. You can buy, you can edit things on your phone. I have iMovie, which I love. I shoot videos all the time and put lower thirds on them and a whole bit. I can knock out a video. As a matter of fact, when I was teaching my class at Logan, a couple times I actually showed them. I actually did a video while I was teaching the class. Did a video, shot it, produced it, lower third, and uploaded it to YouTube, and it was on, YouTube by the end of the class. And I'm thinking to myself, man, have times changed. Have things in my lifetime, of course, when you're bumping up against 90 years like I am, I've seen a lot of life. You know what I'm saying?
You have seen a lot of life. That is a fact.
I can remember when going to school, I had to walk 46 miles uphill in the snow, barefoot in both directions. It was weird because back then the earth tilted. Because when you went to school in the morning, the earth tilted one direction, so you were walking uphill to go to school, and then after school, when the bell rung, the earth tilted the other way, and you had to walk uphill back home. Man, it was terrible. It was hell back then. Kids don't know how good they got it.
Well, they really don't. That's very true.
Those young whippersnappers.
Those young whippersnappers, yes.
Yes. And you know what? The new generation, so positive and like my kids, so positive about things. Like if I ask one of my kids, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, okay. That's what they
Brad. You just can't let things go, can you?
No, I can't.
No, you cannot. That is a true statement.
It's BS in the morning. We'll be back.
Hey, Brad, do you need...
Hold on. You're still on the air, Shelley, because...
So are you.
I know, and hold on a minute. I just played that song. Boy, am I going to get a terrible critique from Jeff, man. He's going to rip this show to shreds. Okay, we'll be back. It's 8:19. Westplex 107.1, it's BS in the Morning. I am Shelley, she is Brad. BSinthemorning.show is our website. Okay, I get feedback here. We talked about things, was it last hour? Beginning of this hour? No, last hour. Talking about Rick Harrison, the guy from the Pawn Stars.
Yes.
Gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. Lady he married. Women. you're catty. I get someone.
Women are.
He's married to Deanna Burdett. She's 42. Rick Harrison, the Chrome Dome middle guy from the Pawn Stars, is 55. And this particular listener said Deanna Burdett is a 6 to 7 at best. I think
wow.
I think she's more attractive than that. But once again, she's 13 years younger, and he's 55. And quite honestly, I don't get the Chrome Dome thing. You know, I know women are crazy about that. I know women who are like, "Oh my God."
I'm not necessarily crazy about that.
Do you get that though? I mean, the Chrome Dome thing. You know,
people are into facial hair. People are not into facial hair. Everybody's got a type.
Yeah, but once upon a time, if you go back, way back when, the only people who had Chrome Dome was like Yul Brynner in The King and I. You know what I mean? It just, it wasn't the look. True. People, and even if you were even if you had like the MPB, you know what that is?
MPB?
Yeah, big thing it used to be a big thing for guys. Guys talk about it all the time. Matter of fact, one of my clients, we did advertising for. That's the funny story about my daughter. Thought I was I shouldn't. For a long time, she thought I was
Brad.
She was. I thought I was totally bald, and I wore a hairpiece. Anyway, MPB is male pattern baldness, and we used to have a client. I don't think they're around anymore. Apollo Hair Systems, and they sold the hair things, toupees, hairpieces, whatever you want to call them. And at the time, guys just didn't want to be bald. And now it's to the point where, guys who have full heads of hair shave their head, and I'm going I don't quite get it. And here's the thing for me that nobody ever talks about, okay? Everybody always talks about skin cancer, but when you shave your head and you got a Chrome Dome, doesn't that make you more susceptible to skin cancer on your head? You know what I mean?
I would think.
Because when you're out and about, obviously what's closest to the sun? Your head, right? Especially the top of your head. So if you're walking around and you don't have hair, and even to the point where, if you, I'd get this every once in a while. If I was working outside, I would actually get a little bit of a sunburn in my scalp, because of the fact that if you're out and don't have anything on your head all day long, the sun can, permeate through your hair. And it wouldn't like the tan or the burn I'd get in my arms or stuff like that. But I'd get a little bit of a tingly where, got too much sun on my head. But if you don't have any hair, it's got to burn, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times people are wearing baseball caps to filter the sun on their head. But then if you sit there and you continue wear a baseball cap, it's going to cause male pattern baldness on the top of your head.
What? The baseball cap's going to make you go bald?
Yes.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I've heard that my whole life.
That's an old wives' tale,
I live by wives' tales, Brad.
I think that's it's more genetic than anything. You're the deal is, what is it? You're
Why? Because you have the same mother and same father as your brother, and he doesn't have hair.
He's a Chrome Dome. Yeah. Well, my dad lost most of his hair, but yet my
did he?
Yeah. But my grandfather, my one grandfather, I never knew, because my grandfather, the illegal alien, who died before I was ever born. Anyway, my other grandfather died when I was 2, and he died with a full head of hair. It's one of those things where, and supposedly, what is it? Your mother's father, and in that case, my mother's father died with a full head of hair, but yet, I have a full head of hair, thanks to Apollo Hair Systems. But my brother doesn't. But you know what? That would make sense, because of the fact that, maybe my brother's an alien. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm sure that's it, Brad.
827. Westplex 107.1 and the donut liquor.
Yeah, that's appropriate right now, Brad.
Shelley goes ape every time I do that.
I do,
think
because
about,
I'm like, scream.
Think about that for a minute, okay? If you don't know the story, there was Ariana Grande, and she was with her boyfriend and another couple, and they went into a donut shop, and she was licking the donuts and sticking them back in the trays, okay? Okay, think about if she would have done that, like, yesterday.
She would have been arrested.
Well, arrested? Man, the police should be under protective custody because there would be people out there trying to get to her and beat her up. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Just like the knucklehead out there in Warrenton that did the video last month where he went to the Wally World in Warrenton and licked the licked the deodorant sticks and then stuck at the video. Hey, look at this. There's no such thing as coronavirus. I'm out at the Wally World in Warrenton licking deodorant. And I think he's still in jail. They charge him with, you read that yesterday, the other day.
They charged him with second-degree terrorism.
Yes. So imagine the donut licker, Ariana Grande. Man, how times change. Here's something interesting talking about that. You think that it's gotten strict in the United States as far as like trying to drastic measures to curb the social spread of the C-19? Panama has resorted to separating genders, allowing women and men to run errands in public on alternating days. And get this.
What difference does it make?
I don't understand that. I don't quite understand that one. Maybe they're saying that, like, well, if you're a guy and, hey, honey, how you doing? Let me give you a hug, that kind of stuff. If the women and the men are on different days. But, anyway, nowadays that doesn't make any sense. In the Philippines, get this one. President Rodrigo Duterte has warned people that if they're unruly or if they break the quarantine, you know what the punishment is?
No.
Shot by police.
No, it's not.
I swear to God. In the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte has warned that people who are, quote, unruly, knock it off, are people who are unruly or who break quarantine may be shot by police. In South Asia, experts worry coronavirus protection measures may provide an opportunity for organized crime to surge in the region. So all we need is like Governor Cuomo to come on TV today and say, because he does this press conference every day in New York, say, okay, I'm going to take a page out of the handbook of President Duterte from the Philippines. If you don't stay in your house, police are going to shoot you. What do you think would happen? Can you imagine?
I honestly don't know.
If some crazy weird governor or like some crazy weird mayor of a city would go on the air and go like call us up. Hey, can I come on your radio station this morning? Yeah, sure. I want to talk to the public. Okay, fine. Hey, you're on. Yes, this is Mayor so-and-so. And I put a new rule into effect. We've got all new guns for our police department. If we catch you out and about and you're not doing something important like going to get medicine, you're going to be shot on sight. Thank you very much. And he walks out. People would go ape. And then
yes, they would.
And then
that is actually taking away almost every freedom that we have.
Well, there are people that say that we've already lost a lot of the freedoms because they're saying that that martial law is next. You hear the crazies, talking about like, you wait, this is what's going to happen. It's going to get so bad. It's going to get terrible. Okay, change subjects real quick.
Okay.
This thing with the Tiger King, and I have to be honest, about 2 weeks ago, someone that I know said to me, are you watching the Tiger King? And I go, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Joe Exotic. I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about, because it's on Netflix, and first I don't have Netflix, okay? Now it's gotten to the point where everybody who is at home is like watching this, and it's crazy time. If you don't know the whole story, it's this crazy guy. Let me find his name. He's got like 6 names. It's one of these things that's like, okay, how do you do this? And all you have to do is just type in Tiger and you get Tiger King. And the guy's name is, where's the Wikipedia page on it? That's all I think. They've got the episodes here. The official title of the Netflix special or Netflix series is 7-part series, 7 episodes. Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. And the guy's real name is, here it is. The guy's name is, he's a really weird name. He's got a hyphenated weird name. Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage. And Maldonado and Passage is hyphenated, known as Joe Exotic. And he is like a tiger freak, and he owns tigers, and he owns a tiger park or something like that in Oklahoma. And his nemesis is this woman who is in Florida, who is a tiger, what do you call it? Rescuer. You know, like you have like the pet rescuer, the dog rescuer. They go in and apparently they have this big long battle that she says, and I haven't watched the whole stupid show. I've read the synopsis that she's claiming that he's harming these tigers, and she's like trying to get his tiger park shut down, and he's trying to, tell her. And then the bizarre part of it is with her, she's been, married a couple times, and one of her ex-husbands disappeared. And they infer that it's Joe Tiger that did that. And
really?
Yes. And the story goes, once again, I haven't seen the entire thing, but I've read the synopsis, is that why he's in jail right now is that this battle between her and this other gal got so intense that he got mad at her to the point where he wanted to kill her, and he hired a guy to kill her. The only problem was the guy he hired was an undercover FBI agent. And it didn't go well for him.
That's going to leave a mark.
Yes, didn't go well. When you're going to hire somebody, you don't want to hire an undercover, or you want to hire somebody to murder somebody, you don't want to hire an undercover FBI agent, because that normally ends badly, and that's supposedly
it really does.
So, and the controversy that came out yesterday, that everybody involved in all the players in this all come out and they say, oh, this is not what we were told when the documentarian people came to us. We thought it was going to be something about the analogy they said was going to be, they thought it was going to be a documentary like Blackfish. You know what Blackfish is?
I do not.
Blackfish is the documentary. Let me see who did that one. Blackfish is the documentary that some people did, which was like a hit piece on SeaWorld. And essentially it was like the story of, here it is, the story of Tillicum, a captive whale that has been taking the lives of several people, underscores problems within the sea park industry, man's relationship to nation, and how little has been learned about these highly intelligent mammals. And it's been out for a while. It's been out since 2013. And that was actually done by CNN Films. It was done by a lady. Oh man, she's got a beautiful name. I love this name. You know her name? Gabriella. And you know what her last name is? How would you like to have this name? Her first name is Gabriella. Her last name is not, I'm not making this up. Her last name is Cowperthwaite. Cowperthwaite. I guess you say Cowperthwaite? Cowperthwaite? What is it?
I have no idea how you would pronounce that.
And that's what Blackfish is about. And they thought this was going to be, at least the tiger save lady or whatever her name is. She thought that the producers of the documentaries told her that that's what she claims, that it was going to be another Blackfish, that they were going to show like, oh, it's terrible how these tigers are treated, and oh, it's terrible. I'm going like, man. And supposedly this is like, everybody and their brother who's quarantined at home is watching this. And now the things I've seen is everybody say it's hyped up. And it's sort of like one of these, it's sort of like watching, you ever watch NBC Dateline?
Well, I don't have a television, but I have watched it before.
You know what I'm talking about, okay? And they have that one guy who's sort of the creepy guy that does a lot of the Datelines, and he sort of talks like this.
Yes.
And then Shelley had the tenacity to walk in the room and say, my underwear is on too tight.
That would be audacity.
Anyway, I mean, he says weird stuff. But the point I was trying to make with Dateline is that they take 40 minutes worth of video and turn it into 2 hours, and like they
fogging.
Well, they go away to a break, a commercial break, and then they come back. Hey, and as we just told you before the commercial break, Joe Smith was walking down the street and tripped over a Ferrari, and then it broke his nose, and he sued the Ferrari owner, and this is where we're at right now. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, they keep repeating the same stuff. Hey, here's where we're at, and it's like, okay, can't you just give us like the the Cliff Notes version of NBC Dateline, which would be like 20 minutes minus the commercials, minus all the other stuff. Anyway, the documentary that I saw, which was fascinating, was the one about the women who were running for House of Representatives in 2018. And one of the ladies who was running against Clay here in the St. Louis area was featured in that. And I believe all the women lost, with the exception of, who won, who was in this documentary?
Who?
AOC. And that's why the documentary got to be big time. And the documentary, there was a husband and wife documentary crew that put the thing together. They followed all these candidates around during the 2018 election for House of Representatives. And I think it cost them their expenses, everything, travel, $50,000, $60,000, something like that. They sold it to... I think they sold it to Netflix for $11 million. Now, obviously, they put a year of sweat and blood into this, where they spent their entire day, night following these 5 candidates around, videotaping them, then going back and editing it. And whenever you do like a documentary, it may be like like an hour documentary. There may be 100 hours of material that documentaries is called from. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And to the point where there's like days and maybe weeks, maybe even months of sitting around editing that and and scripting it and and doing the the voiceovers and stuff like that. But anyway, gotten to be a big thing. Documentaries, I love them. The one I like the most, the documentary I love the most?
Which one?
The one about you and I.
Oh, really? There's a documentary about us?
Yeah.
And what's it called?
The Odd
Dumb
Couple.
and Dumber?
The Odd Couple.
The Odd Couple?
No, Dumb and Dumber.
I could see that.
No, Smart and Dumber. You're the smart one. I'm the dumber one. It's 8:45. Westplex 107.1. Drink up. There are some people that are at the bar already, and they're getting ready for work, right? Got to drink up. 8:55, and I'm laughing about that, but I shouldn't, because I know a couple of those people. I work with them in the radio business. 8:55, BS in the Morning. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. BS in the Morning Dutch Show. Okay. I'm going to read something to you, and I know I'm going to take political heat on this. I'm going to read a quote, and then I'm going to say, when was that said, and who said it? You ready?
Uh-huh.
There's the quote. The American people should not be worried or frightened by this. It is very, very low risk to the United States. It isn't something that the American public needs to worry about, to be worried about, or to be frightened about. Okay? Once again, The American people should not be worried or frightened by this. It is a very, very low risk to the United States. It isn't something that the American public needs to worry about or be frightened about. Okay, first off, who said it?
I don't know, but it goes against the grain of everything that every political person is saying.
Dr. Fauci said that.
Did he really?
Yes, on January...
After everything that he has been spewing out, he said that?
January 26th. So a little bit over 2 months ago, January 26th.
Well, things have changed.
Yeah, I know. But once again, this is the expert. And I guess, and I'm not trying to make a point, but maybe I am trying to make a point, is that once again, this is the guy, this is the expert. And this is the expert who the other day said on TV, there's going to be 100,000, 200,000 deaths. And, 65 days ago, this guy was saying, hey, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Things are good. This guy's the expert. So, once again, and oh boy, there's my phone. There's people complaining already. They're making fun of what I'm saying here. Let me see this. Oh, look, the off button. The point I'm trying to make is that things change. And even the experts got caught flat-footed on this one. One of those things. And everybody making fun of Trump. But guess what? Guess who his advisor was back in January when Trump was making these comments? Oh, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. It was these guys. Because he was taking the advice of his experts. And now the experts are like, like now it's like, oh my God, did you hear what Dr. Fauci said today? Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe it's one of those things. Maybe he's right this time and he was wrong then, or maybe he was, once again, I guess the thing that always bothers me, it would be like, okay, I've done the radio business for a long time. And it would be like you say to me, hey, Brad, the times are tight for radio business. What do you think is going to happen? And I'd say, by the end of the year, every radio station is going to be off the air. There's going to be no more radio. It's all going to be, everybody's going to be off the air. Nobody's going to be broadcasting anymore. And all the radio stations, the towers are going to be all torn down. And
why do you do that?
No,
why do you stick that stuff out in the universe?
I'm trying to make fun of it because of the fact that that's not going to be the case. Probably by the end.
No, it's not going to be the case. But why do you stick it out in the universe anyway?
So you're one of these people that says once it comes out of my mouth, it's in the universe, and people should pay heed to the fact that if you say something, if I said like, Shelley's going to go out today and she's going to play a game online and she's going to win a new Ferrari, that'll happen?
Well, it's much better than all the radio stations are going to be.
Okay, let me go on record saying here's what's going to happen. Shelley's going to be driving down the highway today. And I think it'll be about 11 o'clock this morning, and she's going to be on 364 headed east on Page from the whatever the bridge is, the Veterans Memorial Bridge, and she's going to be down in the flats there in Maryland Heights, and a Brinks truck is going to pull in front of her, and they're going to have a blowout, and the rear door of the Brinks truck is going to fly open, and there's going to be $10 million that's going to fall onto the pavement, and
$1 billion.
Then what's going to happen is all these people are going to try and come and steal the money, and Shelley is going to single-handedly fend them off, provide first aid to one of the Brinks drivers who was injured in the accident, at the same time fending off these people who are trying to steal the money. And then tomorrow it's going to come out that the Brinks company is going to say, oh my God, Shelley was such a wonderful woman and she helped out our Brinks driver who was injured, and $10 million fell out of the back of the Brinks truck. So we're going to give her a 10% bounty for the fact that she, a 10% award, and we're going to give her $1 million. And she's going to give $1 million. So if I put that out in the universe, it's going to happen.
I think
just like that.
Better option.
It's going to happen just like that. Everything I said.
Pretty much like that.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I would share my $1 million with you, Brad.
Oh, you are so kind. So
I would.
Now that I put it out in the universe, so that's going to happen. And
it may not happen today or tomorrow, but it will happen.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see. 9 o'clock. That's going to do it for BS in the Morning. We are out of here tomorrow. A special guest. We have Reverend, does he call himself? No, he calls himself Pastor. Pastor Chris Highfill, who will tell us about what's going on with his church. And he's actually, I'm not saying anything that's secret now because I saw this on his Facebook page. He's telling the story of his wife, who is a ER nurse, who has now got the virus. And I believe his daughter does as well, too. So,
yes.
Chris is going to be an interesting guest. Chris is always a super good guy, and it's going to be interesting to hear what he says. And we're going to specifically talk about how his church is changing in the respect that they're not having services physically anymore, but they're having them online and virtually. So, we'll. What time is he tomorrow? Do you have a set time for him?
7.
A little bit after 7 o'clock. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Shelley, we're done. Any party?
Brad, it's been a slice of heaven as usual. Everybody have a great day. The sun is out. It's 9:03. Peace and be safe.
And that's it? That's all you're going to say?
Oh, I am going to say, so tune in tonight or this afternoon from 4 to 6 when we have BS in the PM.
And Shelley, if I were going to ask you how you'd rate our show today, how many doinks would you give it?
I'd give it 4 doinks.
Oh, that's what I just did. I played 4 doinks.
You did?
I did. I just played 4 doinks.
I didn't even hear them.
They are right there. You didn't hear them? Come on. That's what they were. And then,
That's
Shelley?
Okay, I heard them now because I've got to take out one of my earbuds.
If I were to ask you, what do you think, if the sun is going to be out today, what would you say? And if I asked you what day of the week it is, you would say, what year is this, Shelley? What planet are we on?
Do you hear that?
What was that?
That was me going, oh, look, it's 9:04. Have a great day, everybody.